Hello friends, welcome back to Decommissioning Deck, episode 2. It's me, your friendly neighborhood host, the Earl of Elements, and today I'm going to be taking apart an AT-AT Walker, probably one of the most iconic war machines from the Star Wars LEGO series. Alright, I hope you enjoy this second episode of trying out a little different format where I do a live recording with the rant happening as I'm doing the decommissioning. We'll see how it works out. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you're interested in seeing any other changes. Alright, catch you on the flip side. Which is to say, next episode, because I don't think I'm going to be doing an outro. Alright. Episode 2, the first piece was a little more highly produced. A little element of videography. I decided to try going more in the raw format, where I record live while I'm disassembling things, instead of waiting until afterwards to make myself a little voiceover. So as you can see, today we're working on decommissioning an AT-AT, one of those famous four-legged walker death machines from Star Wars. I've got my classic 6000 series M-Tron hybrid taking the piece down with me, and one of the newer LEGO Space guys. I'm not a huge fan of the modern LEGO Space theme, but I have a lot of them, so I enjoy getting them involved in decommissioning processes. So this is quite a beast of a machine. It's not as big as the Ultimate Collector Series version, but still a lot of beautiful little elements in here that can be collected and repurposed. Nice little discs there. I just can't believe that there are so many elements out there stuck in builds like this, up on people's shelves, glorifying war machines, rather than being turned into awesome and creative outer space creations like this classic multi-track right here. Oh, I dropped one of my little pieces of moon dust. It came with 2 tiny pieces of yellow moon dust back in the day that you could enjoy shoveling and manipulating. Anyway, that's a very sentimental set for me because I still remember being gifted it one Christmas morning at my grandparents' house on William Street in Stratford, Ontario. Anyone from Stratford in there? Out there? Drop us a comment. Everything's in the old bird. I never actually lived in Stratford for more than a summer or two at my grandparents' house, working for the government there and living out of the goodness of their extra room. Yeah, I used to work for the government in Canada installing the internet back in the days when the internet wasn't even really the World Wide Web yet. The World Wide Web was just sort of emerging as the protocol that would become the commercial hellscape that it is today. If you follow what's been going on with the internet, it's not really the place that it once was, and ever since people realized that they could make a buttload of money on it, they haven't really applied themselves to doing much else with it. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of the direction that the web has gone in the 30 years that I've been helping people connect with the internet. And I feel like this evolution to apps that we're going through is somehow even worse. We've got all these big providers, and they've all got their own basically private pipelines between different groups of people, and it's all mediated by either people who are trying to maximize profit or machines that are designed by people who are trying to maximize profit to try to do those things, but not really do them that well. And certainly not do them in a social justice and social development context, which is really the lens through which one has to approach long-term governance and statecraft, as far as I'm concerned. But what do I know? I'm just a former candidate for member of provincial parliament multiple times in the Kingdom, I guess it would be now, the Kingdom of Ontario, the Dominion of Ontario. I'm not sure what the proper designation is for the state where I grew up, because I've given up a lot of those royalist conceits and constructs that I had to deal with in my youth. I've relocated to a free democracy, post-revolutionary democracy, which is something that's quite important to me. And now trying to make a living as a copy editor. And trying to turn my Lego addiction into something useful for the world. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I might be pretty intent on monetizing it as well. I would love to be able to earn so much money from the YouTube machine that I don't have to sell all this amazing Lego that I process for the game shows that I'm producing. But what can you do? We all live in the context that we're living in. This thing's starting to come apart pretty nicely. You can see some of the insides there. A lot of Technic pieces used to create the rear end. Give it some internal structure. And some nice big plates on the outside that will make wonderful bases for all sorts of amazing spacecraft in the future. So I'm trying to sort the pieces as I disassemble this time. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. I don't know whether it works as a format or not. I think it might be more effective if I focus on simply tearing this thing down and doing the sort afterwards. Although there are certain pieces I try to keep Technic pieces together, mostly because they have their own sort of weird internal logic that's different from regular blocks. Yeah, how do you sort your Lego? It's an interesting question. It's definitely one that has been asked and answered of the Brick Scavenger, and one of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and start documenting my Lego escapades is at the inspiration of that gentleman. He seems to be pretty adept at least buying lots of random lots and putting in the work to get them on camera. And he posted a video that I watched a while back explaining how he sorts Lego. He has a very methodical sort of a table sweeping process where he sweeps large batches with his arms horizontally on a table to avoid all of the up and down motion of a moving sort with lifting and all of those intricacies, but I don't know. I kind of enjoy getting physically exhausted in my upper body as part of this Lego workout. And so I think for now at least, I'm going to probably stick with a sort of modified version of his approach where I use all these recycled drink cups and, you know, reduce, reuse, and recycle, as the saying goes, to help make the planet a better place for everyone, including me, because I have somewhere in which to sort pieces of Lego as they come off this beast that I'm taking down. Let's take the face apart here. Remember how the head is attached. Looks like these are just kind of weakly on there. Oh, there goes that leg. There we go. Get the roof off. There's some nice tiles. Corner pieces. Bunch more Technic. So what do you think? Do you think that Lego is betraying itself by pouring so much focus into these Star Wars and other borderline properties? Or is that just the future that we're living in? IP is the only god that's left for us to consume. Lego is one of its sacraments. Don't forget to eat your communion Lego. But in all seriousness, don't eat Lego. Please, I don't need anyone coming in the comments talking about how their kid watched my teardown videos and then ended up choking to death, or even having a piece of Lego wedged in the throat. If not fatal, still doesn't sound like the kind of formative experience that anyone really wants. Alright, so let's get this head apart. What we got in here for controls? Just one little control block. One of the things that first endeared me to Lego is these little classic space targeting consoles. Here's what you get in and out at. A couple of buttons. They do look nice in retro style, like real flippity switches. Proper analog 1970s future technology. I gotta say, I'm not a fan of how we're going with the development of, as I mentioned, apps in particular on mobile platforms. It's very much a Star Trek The Next Generation type of interface where there's not really any physical connection between the actions that are being performed by the devices and the person who's making the actions happen. And I feel like that's in that way, they're lie dragons, shall we say. It's definitely been a long-standing fantasy of a lot of people who grew up under the Next Generation Star Trek setup, and that property really pushed this sort of malleable touchscreen interface where the user has no actual physical interaction with the process that's being undertaken by the machine. I don't know. I've long been a pretty harsh critic of interface systems and user interfaces, in large part because I spent so much time growing up having to constantly learn how to use new iterations of the Windows operating system, because the devices that I used were constantly being made obsolete. Not because they no longer functioned, but because they could no longer run the operating system that was required to communicate with the rest of the business world. And I found that constantly learning to be a real chore, one that I did not sign up for when I began my use of Microsoft products all the way back when it was just MS-DOS, and all you had to know was how to type to use a computer. These days, typing is almost not required of users, and I think we're forfeit for it, because there's something about sitting at a keyboard that puts one in a more contemplative, and I like to think, more interrogative space than when one is simply playing around on a mobile computing device, trying to distract themselves from what's going on around them. It's sort of a focused, intentional using of computation instead of a abstracted and distracted one. When you're sitting at a PC and actually composing instead of simply thumbing out something tweet length that you consider to pass for pithy or insightful. Which isn't to say that there's no space for quick wit and pithy, insightful wit in the brief form that some of these social media services limit users to. But I've really never found it to be of any value in advancing the discourse on any serious subject. So, try to take it all with a large grain of salt. Oh, we've almost got the body apart here. Let's flip her over. Get this other large panel off. Actually, let's finish the head first. My engineer is falling over. Come back here. A lot of really weird squeaky sounds come out of this thing as I take it apart. I suppose that's kind of par for the course. It is Lego after all, and the plastic is semi-flexible. Of course, it's also made from dinosaurs, or their remains, and who knows what kind of noises they make. Perhaps they're communicating with us back from their oily graves. Tiny whines and murmurs. So it looks like disassembling this neck assembly here is going to be the key to getting the head off. It's sort of like the main column of the ship, the Samson post. I guess if you were talking in classical shipbuilding terms, where the center of gravity is, pretty much. And we're missing some pieces, so I should have tested it beforehand, but I'm going to say this is pretty much the central control column for the entire beast. Let's take it apart, put these pieces to good use, building something better. Something that's not so terrifying, but as inspiring. Because ultimately, that's what I'm looking for in entertainment these days. It has to be inspiring, without terrifying. Anyway, what are you people up to in terms of watching movies and television? You drop a mention in the comment to what you're watching these days that you find enjoyable. I tend to go through phases. Right now I just finished a book for the first time in a while, which is to say a non-fiction book, a novel. I read lots of books, but I very rarely read fiction. But I was reading a book that was written by my uncle to learn a little family history. The book's called The House of Wives, and it's a fascinating story about the largest opium merchant in Hong Kong. How could that not be interesting? He wasn't even from Hong Kong, he was from India, and he basically turned the whole industry on its head. So, and he had two different houses with two different wives, and eventually they both ended up in the same one. The book's about that drama, and personally I found it fascinating. Of course, your mileage may vary because you're not related to the man who wrote it. But maybe you are. I mean, we all are in a way. You know, the quote-unquote brotherhood of man, as they used to call it before that became a obviously gendered way of addressing it. But I like to believe that we are all of one. There's no divisions in the human condition. They are all pieces of one experiencing the whole. The only way to make it better for all of us is to make it better for all of us. As Sister Soldier says, an injustice anywhere is an injustice anywhere. Even in Lego. So, fie on this Disney Lucasfilm garbage. Yeah, they're interesting models. Yeah, they have a lot of cool pieces used in cool ways. But at the same time, the message behind each of these machines is support the military-industrial complex. It's freaking cool. Look at how easy it is to destroy people. Their lives and their loves and their happiness. Isn't that great? And of course the logical and humanistic response to such a claim is no, that's not great at all. It's ridiculous. Who would want any part in such a machine? And that's where we came from. Decommissioning Deck. Taking apart the machine. So I want to thank anyone who's actually managed to stick around this far into this video. I'm going to be doing both ambient deconstructions where I don't talk and more ranty deconstructions on Decommissioning Deck where I do talk. There's both of the feed-in properties to my much anticipated game show Is It Lego, which is currently just shedding pieces to the cutting room floor. It should be posted sometime around the start of back to school, which I suppose is basically now. So I better get on that. And stop distracting myself with these ridiculously enjoyable decommissionings. Final leg coming off here. Pretty close to calling this piece decommissioned. And of course the breakdown will continue with full scrapping and sorting in order to get to the state of usability where I can put these pieces into circulation in my own builds and in other people's. Fair number of pieces in this unit. I'm not sure how many. I'm sure that I will mention it in the voice intro and in the product description at the bottom. I'm going to be talking about YouTube as well as part of this whole show, and seems like simply copying the entire product description of the pieces that I decommissioned into the comments, or not comments, into the information fields for the videos is a good way to not run afoul of the layers of Lego, because they already include their little trademark and circle R symbols on the pieces when they release the marketing materials for the different sets that they release. And so it saves me the work of having to go in and put a little tiny TM after every single instance where some Lucasfilm creation of the mind is being referenced in these set descriptions. Anyway, foot coming apart, lots of good little techniques, some plates, some nice bricks. Really not a bad set overall in terms of having a good mix of functional Technic elements for exploratory play, and also some decent space-style gray elements for building classic palette Lego space stuff, which is one of my preferred ways to build, especially space items. The grays are very universally versatile as well. You don't only find place in the space lines. And then you get some pieces off the bottom here. More nice plates. Some of these little snots. Studs not on top. Those of you unfamiliar with the term snot as part of the little Lego vernacular. There's a little trap door in the bottom. That's kind of cool. I didn't actually build this set. It's one of the ones that I've purchased specifically to decommission as scrap, as it were, military surplus. Remember when World War II was over and they ostensibly sold off all the military stuff, but instead somehow we've ended up in a condition of permanent global war with the US as the main producer and financier of most of the military hardware. That was quite a tone shift from where we thought we were headed in the 1940s, which is to say the late 40s, which Just to say I wasn't actually alive then, but from what I understand, optimism was in the direction of universal peace forever instead of global war forever. So maybe that's why people cotton on to these tiny slices of Star Trek The Next Generation that we call mobile devices. We really just long for that promised post-technological bland socialist utopia that Star Trek represents. But clearly there's a market for the world of perpetual warfare and genocide and slavery that Star Wars tries to make manifest. Alright, getting to the point where I need to start using my tool because it's a pretty strong chassis. What do we got here? Looks like a Technic bar going through the middle. Grabbing another one of my custom brick separator tools here because I need a Technic punch to get some of these pins out. Well, everything seems to be going all right. The audio recording is working. The video recording is working. It's coming up on half an hour now. Let's start going from the bottom here. There we go. It's always interesting trying to find the weak spots on these builds, since I haven't really built a lot of Lego myself in several decades. So it's been quite an evolution in terms of numbers of elements available and the different ways that people put them together to make things work. This is clearly just Technic pegs in the middle. There we go. Yeah, looks like that peg there. Come on. There we go. That took the underpinning right out of the neck. And I pull that piece there. Boom. All right. So this neck piece is pretty well connected. A bunch of Technic. I can see why this would be a hard set to put together just by buying pieces, because there are a ton of finicky little Technic bits in here to make the thing work. Yeah. Alright, what have I got here? piece is just flying off now. Here comes the neck piece. Some nice little rings in there. Bunch of nice little black dots. Alright, I think I'm getting pretty close to calling this one quits. It's pretty effectively broken down to the last little bits that I'll have to disassemble before putting it into the collection. Take all these parts apart from the middle of the chassis. Maybe I'll bust the rest of the legs out a little bit. Anyway, let me know what you think. This, as I say, is still kind of in development stage of this particular YouTube experiment. So I'm interested in what you think of the format. Do you want to see more of me on camera? Do you want to see more of the surroundings? Do you like the multi-camera? Are you fine with the single camera? Anyway, all valid options. Just let me know in the comments what you're thinking, how I can improve, anything you want to know, things you want me to talk about. I'm sure that as it develops, I will get into some more interesting subjects than just my own history with Lego and general disgust with the modern state of things. I realize it makes me come across as something of a crotchety old coot, despite the toy-focused nature of the piece that I'm producing. So let me know how I can improve it and make this something that you will want to subscribe to. What do you want to see? What do you want me to take apart? You got a Lego thing that you want? Something that I can try to find in my collection? Maybe I'll do a contest. Give away some stuff. We got so many pieces coming in for the game show, but might as well start giving some away to commenters. So, tell you what, in the next decommissioning deck, I'll announce the first contest, and I'll set a subscriber goal, and if we can hit that goal, then I will have a way of determining a winner that is legitimate. I'll have to look into how to structure something like that with my law team, but I think it could be pretty fun. Alright, that's the end of Decommissioning Deck for now. Catch you back here next time, and keep your stick on the ice, eh? Alright.
Like, subscribe!